swell. Hope you're swell. Hope you're wavy. Hope you're wavy. Hope you're gravy. Hope you're gravy. Hope you're gravy. You're doing great. Hope you're doing great. I'm feeling very grateful. I was just thinking just now about like how fortunate I am that I get to show up here every day and make these videos, because I get very excited when I think about like, oh, I get to share this thought I'm having, or I get to talk about this or talk about that and hear from people and all that sort of stuff. Like, I get very excited. So I'm very, very grateful for everyone that tunes in. Thank you if you're someone that watches regularly, and everyone that watches, thank you. I'm very grateful for this channel. 7,000 subscribers is crazy. And you know, we're going up. Like, the rate of growth has increased, which is amazing. It's phenomenal. I was hoping for this moment, you know, like if I can just get to a point where I'm averaging like 1,000 views per video, yada yada yada. Like, now I'm there. I'm there now, and it's amazing, man. It's amazing, and I'm very grateful. Yeah, onwards and upwards, right? Oh yeah, yesterday I updated my tax details on Google AdSense. I didn't. I didn't. The first time I did it, I didn't put in my tax number. I wasn't even sure if I had a tax number. I had to ask because I was working for my mom. So I wasn't aware of all the finer details with regards to what's going on with my tax details and all that sort of stuff. So I had to ask my mom, do I have a tax number by any chance? And she was like, yeah, you do. She just had to get it from her accountant. So she did, and I updated my Google AdSense information, and now I'm paying 0% tax. Going forward, I'll be paying 0% tax on all the payments I get from YouTube. Before, I was paying 30%. I was paying, oh my god, guys, I was paying 30%. You know how fucking insane that is? I was paying 30%. Yeah. That is madness, dude. 30%. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I was paying 30%. Every payment I got from Google, I was paying. From YouTube, I was paying 30%. Unbelievable. South Africa has a tax treaty with America, so America is where YouTube is based. So if you can provide them with your tax details, you can get a tax cut. And in my case, the tax cut was it was 30% tax cut. So I'm now paying 0%, which is amazing. And they say that you can get a refund on all the tax that they withheld, because it's called tax withholding. So it's not like my country's tax agency was taking the money. YouTube was just withholding that money for tax purposes. But because there's a tax treaty between South Africa and America, now I don't have to pay that money, and I can get a refund on all the tax they withheld, apparently, within the calendar year. So it might not, I'm not sure if the taxes I paid last year or the tax that was withheld from me, whatever, the taxes I paid last year will make it back to my account. It might just be for this year, so January, February, and March, which is still a lot of money, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I'm very excited for that. I hope I didn't just bore you with details about tax. I watched. I watched. What's that show's name? I'm currently watching it. It's called Fallout. Yes, Fallout, based on the video game Fallout. It's great. I was surprised. I was expecting it to not be great. Usually, when a show has a female lead, I'm expecting, the same sort of stuff we always get with female leads these days, is with the boss babe. Where like I hate men is her whole personality. I was expecting that, and I got the exact opposite. Like the main character, the female lead, is very nice. She's a very nice person. She's funny. She's innocent. She's capable. She's this. She's that. Very refreshing. Like she's genuinely funny. Like because she's so naive. Because she came from this sheltered environment, right? And now she's in this big dangerous world, and she thinks that this world operates the same as the environment she's from. And she's finding out very quickly that that's not the case, and she's finding herself doing things that she would not have normally done. And it's very interesting, but the way she navigates these scenarios is very hilarious. It's sweet, but it's also interesting, and it's a great show. It's got great characters across the board, and I'm pleasantly surprised. When I was thinking that why is this character working, this female character working? Why is she not like enjoyable and likable and the other ones aren't? Like in a lot of these other movies and shows, like what's the difference? And like I said earlier, when you write a character that is likable, lo and behold, people like her. You'd think people would know that, but they don't. These writers don't seem to have a grasp on that. I'm not masochistic, I don't enjoy watching a show and being told constantly that I'm trash, I'm this, I'm that, because a lot of these shows that have female leads, often their whole thing is men are trash, which is such a weird angle to take. That's a weird thing to make your personality, Like, why not focus on other aspects of the character instead of focusing heavily on that one thing? But yeah, what it does is it creates this scenario where, as a man, you're very wary of shows that have female leads, because you're like, is this just going to be more of the same that we've been getting? That's what it's become now with a lot of shows fronted by black people. You're like, is this just going to be some woke, race-centered story where like it's not really about the story, it's always about racism and this, that, and they're like, we're not just going to get a good story. It's like, that's what these people end up doing. It's like, just tell a good story, man. That's the only thing you need to do. That's your only job. When you start focusing on these other things, it pushes people away and they become hesitant to support you. But I heard so many good things about Fallout that I was willing to give it a shot. I heard good things from everyone, whether it's liberal or conservative. I follow some conservative people on Twitter, and they were saying Fallout is really good. And I was like, what's going on? So I was very hesitant, but I gave it a shot, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Recently I watched Shogun, the Japanese show Shogun, and I was like really impressed and very happy. It's the first one of, I don't watch as much like series or movies as I used to, because it's just the stuff that's coming out these days. So I was very pleasantly surprised by Shogun. It was really good. I'm sure there's a lot of good content out there, but it's just, you have to go out of your way to find it, because there's so much out there. The market is extremely saturated, right? So you have to really search. And I have my own particular tastes as well, so sometimes it's hard to find something that tickles my fancy. But back in the day, it was easier. It was a lot easier because there was just quality across the board. Now it's like the hiring process doesn't seem to be very stringent. It seems like anyone can get a job in Hollywood and in whatever other media enterprises. So I was pleasantly surprised by Shogun. And I did not expect Fallout. What I thought Fallout was going to be was at most, like, at most I thought it would be, something to kill time with. But I'm actually enjoying it more than I'm enjoying Shogun, which I didn't think would be the case. I definitely did not think that, but it's very good. It's very good. So far, I'm only on episode, like, what, 4 now? I think I watched 3 episodes yesterday. I might have watched 2. I'm not sure what episode I'm on, but I'm having a good time. I didn't expect that. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, man, if you write a good character, regardless of their race, gender, ethnicity, whatever the case may be, if you just make them likable, people will just naturally gravitate towards them. They've been pushing this nonsensical narrative that, like, black people in Hollywood can't get work because no one likes black characters and all this nonsense, and like as if there's some agenda against blacks in entertainment, which is just not true. If you look at the likes of Eddie Murphy, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, there's a long list. Bernie Mac, Chris Rock, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, Viola Davis. There's a long list, and that's just in America alone. You can go to the UK, you can come here to South Africa, you can go all over the world and see successful black actors and actresses doing very well. It's just a lie. That wokeness perpetuates that there's some agenda, right? But it's like, guys, it's very simple, man. People will gravitate towards good stories with good characters. I promise you. I've seen it. So if you can just do that, you'll sell your tickets. You get people's bums in the seats. You don't need to play all these identity politics, these games of identity politics. You don't need to do all that to sell tickets, because that is so tiresome. It's so exhausting. People roll their eyes when they hear all these woke talking points in these movies. You're just like, oh my god, bro. This thing doesn't fall off the lens. Oops. So yeah, spare us, please. Just write good stories, people. That's all you need to do. The rest will follow as a natural consequence. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased with Fallout. Great characters, great setting, great world, great action, great everything. It's fun. The music is phenomenal. It's like 60s, 70s jazz, fusion sort of. Would you say 50s? I don't know what time period it's. Well, I don't know what time period the music was from. Kind of gives like 50s, 60s. It's jazz fusion, I guess. That jazz pop fusion from back in the day. It's very nice. It suits the theme. It suits the setting. It gives it this eerie quality. You know when you like music that's supposed to be lighthearted and fun in a dreary, scary setting, it kind of adds to the unsettling atmosphere because of the two kind of contrast. It creates this contrast. Anyway, we've made it to this point. We're kind of like halfway through the video right now. We've made it to this point. I guess you can drop like a hand waving emoji if you don't know. Sometimes people don't know what to say in the comments. They want to say something, but they don't know what to say. Comments help, by the way. When you like, when you subscribe, and you comment, all that stuff, it does help. So you can drop a little hand wave emoji. Let me know you're still watching. In other news, I just watched earlier this morning. Oh my God, guys, it was a legendary moment. The president of El Salvador. If you don't know who he is, Nayib Bukele, I'll just give you a brief account of who he is. Basically, El Salvador was overrun by gangs not too long ago, just a few years ago. It was bad, people. It was really bad. Like they were running the government. They'd infiltrated the government. They'd bought the politicians and had the politicians on payroll so that, you know, when the gangs are conducting criminal activities, you know, they're not going to prison. Even if they do get to go to prison, they get let out immediately. And they're running the streets. It was chaos. Crime was everywhere. El Salvador was the murder capital of the world. This was just like 4 or 5 years ago. This was very recently. Murder capital of the world. If you want to get murdered, you go to El Salvador. That's the place to go do it. It was bad. The crime was horrendous. People were scared to go out at night because there were demons lurking in every corner. These thugs, these criminals. Yeah, just had a terrible crime rate, right? So Nayib Bukele, he became president and declared war on crime. He declared war on the gangs. And literally they went to war with them. They went into the streets. He militarized the police, and they went in the streets and started arresting people, and those that refused, he would shoot them. And it was a very strict operation. They were not fooling around, and they jailed, I'm not sure how many people they jailed, tens of thousands, I think. a lot of these gang members. People don't understand how bad it was, because they'll say that that's such an extreme response. Yeah, it was an extreme response to a very, very extreme situation. Some of these guys were literally devil worshippers, like satanic gangs. Imagine satanic gangs are running your country, and like no one is exaggerating. Like that's literally what's happening. These were openly Satan. You should see the tattoos. They've got all pentagrams and all sorts of weird stuff on their faces. You should see them. They look very scary. These gang members. These are the people that were running El Salvador. Just imagine that, dude. So it was an extreme situation that required an extreme response. And yeah, he went into the streets and arrested. When you talk about mass incarceration, that's probably if not the biggest, it's definitely one of the biggest mass incarceration operations in history. But it was necessary. But guess what the result was? Crime dropped unbelievably quickly and drastically, to the extent that El Salvador is now the safest country in the Western Hemisphere and one of the safest in the world. They have an incredibly low crime rate now. It's very, very safe. A lot of areas that were previously uninhabitable, like they were just inhabited by gangs, have now been opened up and cleaned up, and open for business and stuff like that. A lot of stores can run longer now because they'll close earlier because obviously when it's late into the night and the demons are out and about, you have to close earlier. It's like literally existing in like a movie with monsters where it's like we have to close the doors and board up the windows because that's when the werewolves come out. It was literally like that because when gang members are walking around terrorizing the city, terrorizing the country rather, you have no choice. You can't operate late into the night, like past 10 p.m. or probably earlier than that. Probably you're closing at 6, whatever the case may be. But now it's like they can operate for as long as they want to. Certain businesses are opening up. I think there's some Starbucks chains that opened up and stuff like that are doing very, very well. This truck outside. The Google opened up a headquarters there. It's a very beautiful, tall building, shiny, and stuff like that. It attracts investors. Right? It attracts tourists. It attracts business because people are starting to see that this is a safe country to do business in. It's clean. It's an emerging market. There's potential. If we invest here, we can get serious returns in the future. So it's beautiful to see, right? So many things that are going very, very well for that country that I could sit here and talk for hours if I just listed all the positive changes occurring as we speak. So that's who Nayib Bukele, right? That's who he is. That's what he represents. That's what he did during his time. I think he's in his second term now, or is he still doing his first term? I'm not sure. Either way. So now that you know who he is, very recently, like yesterday or something, this guy's a gangster. He called all the members of his executive branch into a meeting. So this was on camera. You can watch the video online. I'll try to remember to put a link in my description so you can watch this man be a G. But he called all the members of his executive branch into a room, and he was talking to them, and he was like, I've invited you all here, and I've also invited this one guy here who is not a member of the executive branch, but he's here for one particular reason: to investigate all of you for corruption, for stealing money from the people. And there should be nothing to fear if you've done nothing wrong. But if you have done something wrong, your ass is going to jail. You're going to jail. And he said, someone asked me, don't you fear death? Because, when you're fighting corruption, when you're trying to point out the evils of your government, people can try and silence you. They can try and have you killed because they want to keep being evil. So, they'll kill you. And he said, someone asked me that, aren't you afraid to die? And he said, I am afraid to die, but we'll all die someday. 100 years from now, none of us will be alive. And I'm willing to bet that most of the people in this room don't even know the name of your grandfather's father, your great-grandfather. You probably don't even know that person's name. We'll all fade into nothing someday, right? But men like me, we get remembered, and a lot of the time is for the wrong reasons. And you're talking about more than death. What I fear is a bad legacy. That's what you're saying. And you're saying he doesn't want to be the guy that, reduced the crime rates and gave people hope, but didn't do much beyond that. And even though he didn't steal himself, he was surrounded by thieves and he let them steal and all these sorts of things. Like he said, I don't want to be remembered as that guy. I refuse to be associated with crooks, with scammers, with thugs. So I'm going to purge this government of all the wrongdoers, of all the people that are stealing, so that we can turn this country around and really make it something special. And I was like, wow, do you know the balls it takes to say something like that in front of all of them. And some of them were like laughing because I figured that they were in denial. They couldn't believe it. Bro. Like, what's this guy doing? It's unheard of. You don't see, bro. It's like a movie scene, bro. They should make a movie about this guy when his life is over. All the legendary things he went through. He's a legend. He's a living legend. So there was a camera, you could see the faces of some of these people. They looked concerned. Others were like smiling because it was like, what? I think they were in denial. But yeah, the corrupt ones are going, definitely. He's letting them know your time is up. So this morning I said a prayer for him because when you're fighting corruption, it's very dangerous. You can get yourself killed. Here in South Africa, there was a story of this woman who'd been asking some dangerous questions, and she got gunned down in front of her gates. Her children are inside the home. She got shot and killed at the gate of her house because she was questioning the government. Now, I won't say that this is a common occurrence here in South Africa, and it only happens in certain parts of the country, like the Eastern Cape. So it's not like happening all over the place. And, these things happen in many countries around the world, including America. Obviously, these things get covered up, and it's hard to prove sometimes, especially when the government is in on it. Like, obviously, the courts are going to be in favor of the government, and they can get away with a lot of things. If you just look at what's happening with Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, who are whistleblowers, who are letting you know that your government is corrupt and this is what they're doing. They're spying on you and they're lying to you. And these guys had to flee the country, and Julian Assange is being held in prison and all these sorts of things. And many other instances, right? With stories that get swept under the rug. The whistleblower for Boeing who was talking about how, hey man, these planes aren't safe. These planes are not safe. And then like a day or two later, he's dead. Yo. So the government is in on all those things. So I'm talking about the American government. So I was saying that because I don't want to make South Africa sound like the worst country in the world. It's got problems. But it's not this thing of government officials killing people in order to protect certain narratives. It's not new. It's not unique to just countries like El Salvador or South Africa. But yeah, anyway. The point is, it's scary. It's a scary thing to question your government and try and hold their feet to the fire. Because if you get too close to a certain soft spot, to a certain target, if you're becoming a bit too loud, it might be in the best interests. Oh, the biggest example of that was President Kennedy, who was assassinated. Everyone knows that there was something very fishy about that. That wasn't just some random person that did that. There was definitely nefarious forces behind that, bureaucrats behind that. You'd be a fool not to think so. But yeah, anyway. So questioning your government and then trying to do things contrary to the establishment's agenda. It's dangerous. So I was praying for Naib, that he overcomes all of that and that he keeps his head and is alive for a very long time so that he can see the country develop and change. And one thing I was thinking about was it's very necessary for him to do this, because he could have tried to, effect change while surrounded by these corrupt officials, but I don't think it would have been very effective because they're corrupt and they'll hold him back. But also, someone has to succeed him. Someone has to take over once his term is done. I'm actually not sure how the political system works in El Salvador, if they have the same two-term system like here in South Africa or in America. I don't think that works for every country, especially when so much of your government is corrupt. I would like Nayib to remain in power for as long as he can, until he can find someone suitable to replace him, because sometimes you say, okay, sometimes you can have a good leader and then you just say, okay, your term is finished, leave now. But then the person that replaces him is worse, which it can just unravel all the progress you made if he's replaced by a worse person. But I understand the concerns about, if someone stays in power too long, how long will it be before they become corrupt themselves and all sorts of stuff like that. So it is a balance, but you have to have someone capable of replacing you. And that's not possible when your entire government is corrupt. So I think it's important that he's purging the government of all these corrupt people, so that he can create a sort of environment where he can create a meritocracy where you're in the job that you are in because you deserve to be there. And he can rest easy knowing that even if he leaves, the country will be in good hands. He's got a good cabinet, he's got a good executive branch, he's got good people that can take over. It's very important. So I'm a big fan of what he's doing right now, and I'm hoping it's successful. I hope they don't do anything to him, and that he just purges the government successfully, and that he has this legendary legacy that when all is said and done, he's remembered as someone who really turned that country around. I'm very, very, very happy for that country, and I'm hoping that it becomes a very rich nation. And I can't wait to visit and just see what's going on there. I want to see the women as well. What are they working with? But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I need to remember to put the link to that video. It's on X, so I'll share the link. You can watch it there. So it's an amazing video. It's like 2 minutes. It's not long. And let me know what you think. I'd like to pray at the end of my videos. Dear Father God, thank you for the individual watching this right now. Thank you for making them whole, unique, and guide them in about towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing this person with a spirit of gratitude. Wait, no. So thank you for blessing this person with wonderful people in their life who love them, take care of them, bring the absolute best out of them. And thank you for maintaining the ones that are there to do the same thing. Thank you for blessing this person with a spirit of gratitude so they can give thanks for all the wonderful things in life. And by giving thanks, they can find peace, contentment, and attract even more blessings. Thank you for letting your presence be felt in this person's life so they know that you're God, that you're worth, that you love them, you're always going to be there for them. Good health, long life, and happiness over this person, everyone they care about. In your mighty name, I pray in Jesus' name, I pray in Jesus' name, I pray in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.